Severe allergic reactions. The VO rates these by the calendar, not by how scared you were in the emergency room. $795.84 a month, tax-free, is what the top rating pays. And here's the one to hold the whole video. 5 conditions on today's list, and one of them isn't rated like the other 4 at all. It quietly pays a higher ceiling. We'll get to which one and why.
This is Erica. Start with the family. Anaphylaxis, anaphylactic shock, angioedema, angioneurotic edema. 4 names, 1 idea. A fast, severe reaction that swells you up, and the VA files all 4 under 1 diagnostic code.
I'm Kai. Look at what that code actually measures. Not how bad one attack felt, how often they happen, and whether your throat closed. Frequency and the throat. That's the whole scoring engine.
Hey, this is Bella. Careful here, because this is where people lose the money. The comment threads on these say the quiet part out loud. The system's counting on most vets never documenting enough to prove a single one.
A reaction that lands you in the emergency room, terrifying, real, but never written into a claimable record, is worth exactly 0%, $0. Where's the line between that and the check?
The chat just pushed up the exact question I was about to dodge. Someone asks, if I only had 1 bad reaction and went to the emergency room, do I even have a VA claim here? Fair question, and the answer is uncomfortable.
We answer it fully in a minute, and everything we cite today comes straight off the VA's own rating schedule, plus the free breakdowns and links we keep at va.professorerica.com. One of these 5, though, breaks the whole pattern. That's a one I keep promising you.
That line you asked about, run the code. Diagnostic 7118. It hands out 10, 20, or 40% and nothing higher. 40's the ceiling.
And it's a ladder built entirely out of counting. 10% is 2 to 4 attacks in a year. 20 is 5 to 8. 40 is more than 8. Same condition, same body, 3 different checks, decided by a number on a calendar.
Almost. There's a shortcut up that ladder, and it's the throat.
Right, laryngeal involvement. If your airway is part of the attack, the counting changes completely. Throat attacks just once or twice a year already puts you at 20%. 3 or more times and you're at the full 40 on the same schedule that otherwise demands 8.
So the paperwork move is forget the 8 attack path. Get the throat documented. Fewer attacks, same ceiling.
Here's who this hits, and it hits almost everyone. People believe 1 terrifying reaction earns the rating. It doesn't. The schedule pays the pattern, not the panic.
Okay, quick one before we go on. 5 conditions, remember. How many of them do you think ride on this exact code 7118? Bella, gut guess.
All 5? They're all allergic reactions, so all 5.
4. Anaphylaxis, anaphylactic shock, angioedema, angioneurotic edema. All 4 sit on 7118. The 5th one walks off to a completely different section of the schedule. Both things are true here. It is allergic sounding and it is not rated with the others.
You know the case that keeps showing up in our inbox?
The retiree with the throat attacks? Go.
A veteran in our comments retired bee sting reactions for years. Throat swelling maybe 3-4 times a year. Scary every time.
Rated at?
0 for years. Because the emergency room treated him and sent him home, and nobody ever pulled those visits into a claim. The attacks were real, the record wasn't.
Wait, explain it to me like I've never seen a claim. Throat attacks, 3 times a year, that's clearly 40% territory. Am I close? And the answer is still 0.
A rating isn't what happened, it's what's provable. The schedule can only count attacks that live in your file, and his lived in his memory. Hold on to one thing though, because before this video ends, I'll put an actual dollar figure on a documented 40% with a family. It's bigger than the rating alone. That settles it for now.
Hold on, which record though? People here document it and picture a shoebox of nothing.
Fair. The record that counts is the treated one. The emergency room note, the discharge paper, the allergist chart, the auto-injector prescription refills, contemporaneous, dated, and in medical hands. We build that ladder rung by rung in a minute.
I optimize everything. I deleted the dating apps once I found the local maximum, and I still almost skip logging the small stuff, so no judgment. But per month, that skipped log is the difference between 0 and 40.
Then that's what we're really building today. Call it the frequency ladder. Where you land isn't your body, it's your record. And one of these 5 climbs a taller ladder entirely. Everything so far tops out at 40%. The next few minutes is where one of these conditions quietly clears 60, one thing before the next part, and then we move right on. If any of this is clicking, tap that like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for the next one. It's a second, it costs nothing, and it helps more than you would think.
Okay, I have to say it plainly because a veteran wrote in furious about this. He was told his angioitis claim belongs in the same bucket as his bee sting reactions. It does not. And that mistake cost him a year.
This is the one I promised you at the very top. The condition that breaks the pattern. So let's actually help the person who got told wrong. Erica, Bella, you two don't fully agree on how to frame this for a viewer, so make your cases. Erica, you say the name is the trap.
The name is the trap. Angioitis sounds allergic. It sits near anaphylaxis in the alphabet, so people assume 7118. But angioitis is vasculitis. It's inflammation of the blood vessel walls themselves. That's not a swelling reaction, it's a different disease process, and the schedule rates it in a different section entirely.
Here's who this hits. The frame I'd give the viewer is simpler and kinder. Don't make them memorize vessel biology. Tell them the outcome. This one leaves the allergy shelf, walks over to the skin section, and lands on a code that pays higher.
There it is, the one I said breaks the pattern. Put the number on it, how much higher?
Diagnostic code 7826, primary cutaneous vasculitis, in the skin schedule. Its ceiling isn't 40, it's 60%. So the odd one out of our 5 has a ladder with a taller top rung than anaphylaxis ever gets. But that 60 isn't a gift, and this is the cost nobody mentions. You only reach it if you're having at least 4 debilitating flares a year, while already on continuous immunosuppressive drugs. 60% is the VA saying the medication isn't working. That trade-off is coming.
That's where the 60% people quote for anaphylaxis comes first.
No, that's exactly the mix-up. There is no 60 for anaphylaxis. Every website that says anaphylaxis pays 60% has quietly grabbed the vasculitis number from the skin schedule and stapled it onto the wrong code. 7118 caps at 40, full stop.
Let me make sure I've got it. So bottom line, if a veteran has vasculitis, they always land at 60?
No, that's the overrid. 60 is the top of the ladder, not the entry. 1 to 3 flares a year on intermittent treatment is 10%. 4 or more on intermittent treatment is 30. The 60 only comes when the flares keep coming through the strongest therapy. Where you land is still the record.
Bella, pin it for me. If a viewer has vasculitis but only flares twice a year, no immunosuppressants, what's the honest answer on a rating?
Honest answer, they may not meet the schedule yet, and I won't pretend otherwise. Twice a year with no systemic treatment doesn't hit even the 10% door. That's the hard part of being straight with people. The condition is real, the rating may still be 0, and the fix is documenting the flares and the treatment as they happen.
The real question changes here. Forget which shelf it's on for a second. Whether it's 7118 or 7826, 40 or 60, both codes score you on documented frequency and documented treatment. The actual skill isn't picking a code, it's building the record. That settles it.
So here's where we landed, and it helps the guy who wrote in. Angioitis isn't in the allergy family, it's vasculitis, skin section, code 7826, ceiling 60. But the skill is identical to the other 4. Document the frequency, document the treatment. Same ballgame, taller ladder. The record, that's the answer to the whole thing, so let's build one. If the rating is just a count of what's provable, then documentation isn't paperwork. It's the claim itself. Remember the frequency ladder from earlier? Here's how you actually climb it. Where's the line between a 0 and a check? It's these 5 rungs.
Rung 1, and it's the one everybody skips. Log every single attack the day it happens. The date, what swelled, and the one detail that doubles your tier, whether the throat was involved. Rung 2 is the throat note, and it carries more weight than anything else on the board, since laryngeal involvement is the lever that moves you from 20 to 40 on the very same number of attacks. Rung 3, pull the emergency room or urgent care record every single time, since a treated attack is a counted attack, and an untreated one is just a story you tell. Then Rung 4, the words themselves. You want your doctor writing recurrent or chronic into your chart.
Here's the trap on rung 4. One word can sink the whole thing. If the chart says resolved instead of recurrent, the VA can read that as, it happened once and it's over. About half the denials we see turn on that. More like a third, really, but on that one exact word. Resolved is a closed case. Recurrent is an open, rateable pattern. And be kind to the version of you who didn't know to ask for that word.
Rung 5 is the C&P exam itself, and this is where the whole ladder either pays off or falls apart depending on what you carry through the door.
Wait, so at rung 5, the exam, if I've only had attacks but never
Been formally counted? Then you bring the count yourself. Walk into that exam with a dated list, the emergency room records, the auto-injector refills. The examiner rates what's in front of them. Hand them a clean 12-month tally and you've done half their job for them.
Read me the actual line, not a paraphrase. What does the schedule literally reward?
Word for word, 40%. Attacks with laryngeal involvement of any duration occurring more than twice a year. Of any duration. A 30-second throat scare still counts, as long as it's in the record more than twice. Both things are true. It's a tiny window and it's the whole rating.
Make it a person. E6, retired. 3 documented throat attacks last year, 1 kid. Per month, what's the worth it number he's walking toward?
3 documented throat attacks clears the 40% line cleanly. So he's looking at the 40% rate, plus a dependent. We put the exact family figure on screen next, and it is not small.
Bella, you've been sitting on something since rung 4. Go ahead, put it to the room.
Fine, and it's the one that scares people. What if my only proof is old emergency room visits from years ago? Is that too late to count?
Not too late. Old records still establish the pattern and can even support an earlier effective date. The clock you're fighting is the one that erases attacks you never wrote down, not the one on attacks you did.
0 to 40%. Same body, same attacks. The only variable is the record. Nothing else moves.
Bella, you read the denial letters more than any of us. What's the number one reason these allergic claims come back at 0?
Wrong every time in the same way. No record of frequency. Not that the reaction wasn't severe, just that we can't count what isn't written. Be kind to yourself if that's been you. The fix is boring and the payoff isn't.
The dollar figure I promised back when we met the retiree, finally. This is the honest picture at 40%, and watch how dependents change it, because below 30% they add nothing at all. The base first, a documented 40%, all by itself, pays $795.84 a month, and every dollar of it is tax-free. Now the piece almost nobody explains. Dependents only start counting once you cross 30%, so at 10 or 20 they add nothing. But the moment your record carries you to 40, a spouse and kids finally show up on the check. Add a dependent spouse and it climbs.
$87 for the spouse, $65 for the first kid, small lines.
Small lines that stack? So walk it to the total.
The total then, $795.84 plus $87 plus 65, and a documented 40% with a spouse and 1 child lands at $947.84 a month, tax-free. The number I promised you, and it's the same reaction the retiree was getting 0 for.
Same body, same attacks, $947 a month, or 0. Call it the worth it number for documenting.
There's one piece I don't want us guessing at, the clinical side of proving frequency, so I'm bringing in someone who knows how the VA reads these episodic claims cold, Professor Okafor. Let me get her on the line.
Glad to help, Liam. First thing, because people blur it. Folks here document your reactions like it's one thing, it's two. There's the treatment record, which proves the attack happened, and the frequency record, which proves it keeps happening. The VA rates the second one.
For a viewer who's had scary reactions but never thought to count them, what's the one move today?
9 times out of 10, the miss is the same. The airway detail never makes the note. Ask the treating clinician to write down explicitly whether the throat or airway was involved. That one line moves people a whole tier.
Someone watching is thinking about their exact file right now. Can you tell them if theirs qualifies?
I can't speak to any one file, and nobody responsible can without reading it, but the pattern is almost always the same. The reactions are real, the treatment is real, and the frequency was never assembled in one place. Assemble it, and most of these stop being close calls.
You're right that assembling it fixes most of them. I'll give you that fully. But here's the sharper question it leaves. What about the veteran who did everything right, has the records, and still got denied?
Okay, 2 ways to answer that, and they're different. Denied for frequency or denied for nexus, because those are opposite problems.
Say it's nexus. The VA agrees the reactions happen but won't tie them to service.
Then the fight isn't frequency anymore, it's the link. You need a clinician to connect the condition to an in-service exposure or event in writing. Different battle, same principle. The paper is the claim, and that's the piece most people miss.
I'm not going to read you a 40-row rating table on air. Nobody remembers that. We'll pin the current schedule pages in the description so you can check your own tier. The one thing to remember is the throat detail and the 12-month count.
I spend half my weekends in used bookstores hunting one out-of-print copy, so I'm the type who'd appeal every denial to the last page. But even I'll say it. If the record genuinely isn't there yet, build it first, then file. Both things are true.
That's the one to hold. Thanks, Professor Okafor. Same reaction, 2 veterans, $947 a month between them, and the only difference was a record. That's it. Before we close, one thing each. What are you walking out with? I'll start. These reactions get paid by the calendar, not the crisis. Erica, Kai, go.
Mine's the number you can actually reach. A documented 40% with a spouse and 1 child is $947.84 a month, tax-free. And it starts the day your record catches up to your reality. That's what you're protecting tonight when you log the next attack.
Mine's the trap I want to open next. There's a review the VA can run that quietly lowers a rating you already have, and one line in the letter tells you it's coming. That's the next one.
And I'll hold my ground from earlier. If you've had exactly 1 reaction and no record, this schedule isn't built for you yet, and I won't pretend a claim would land. Build the record first. I'm not moving off that.
That's the episode. If this cleared up even one thing about how these get rated, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us build the rest of this VA series for you. One question for the comments before I go. If you've had a severe reaction, did anyone at the emergency room ever tell you it could be a rateable VA claim? We read every reply. This is Liam. Document the frequency, name the throat, and the calendar starts paying you back. Thanks for watching and signing off.
Liam, that was excellent. I will admit it on this hot mic and regret nothing. 9 out of 10. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.